Most people think the night shift is quiet. Empty buildings, dim lights, long hours with nothing happening. But for the people who work alone after midnight, the night can feel very different. Security guards, hospital workers, janitors, warehouse employees, they often say the same thing. The night has its own kind of silence. And sometimes, that silence is broken by something you can't explain. Tonight, we're going to explore a few true night shift stories shared by people who were working alone when something strange happened. And by the end, you might start wondering what really happens in places after everyone else goes home. The first story comes from a man who worked the night shift as a security guard at a small office building. The building was 3 floors tall, and after 10 p.m. it was completely empty. His job was simple: check the cameras, walk through the building every hour, and make sure all doors were locked. For the first few months, nothing unusual ever happened. Most nights were quiet. Too quiet. Around 2 a.m. one night, he was sitting in the security room watching the cameras when he noticed something strange. One of the hallway lights on the second floor turned off. At first, he assumed it was a timer or a faulty bulb. But then, a few seconds later, the light turned back on. He checked the camera. The hallway was empty. No one walking through. No movement. Just the light switching off and on again. He grabbed his flashlight and went upstairs to check it out. The hallway looked normal. Nothing out of place. He checked the light switch. Still on. So he shrugged it off and went back to the security room. But about 20 minutes later, it happened again. The same light flickered. Off. Then on. This time, he kept watching the camera. And that's when he noticed something that made his stomach drop. The light wasn't flickering randomly. It was turning off right as something moved past the camera's blind spot. Something he couldn't see. He stared at the screen, waiting. Then suddenly, the hallway light switched off again. But this time, it stayed off. For nearly 30 seconds. When it finally turned back on, the door at the end of the hallway was slowly closing. He was the only person in the building. And that door had been locked earlier that night. He went upstairs again. The hallway was empty. The door was closed. And the lock was still engaged. He never figured out what moved through that hallway. But he did notice something strange when reviewing the footage later. Every time the light went out, the camera picked up a brief moment of static. Almost like interference. After that night, he said he started leaving that hallway light on permanently. Just in case. The second story comes from a nurse who worked overnight shifts in a hospital wing that had recently been closed for renovation. Because the wing was empty, she often had to walk through it alone during her rounds. One night around 3 a.m., she was passing through the dark hallway when she heard something unexpected. A call button. In hospitals, when a patient presses the call button, a soft chime sounds at the nurse's station. But the strange part was, there were no patients in that wing anymore. The entire floor was empty. She checked the panel anyway. Room 214. Someone had pressed the call button. She walked down the hallway toward the room. The door was slightly open. Inside, the room was completely dark. She turned on the light. The bed was empty. No equipment was plugged in. No monitors were active. But the call button on the wall was still glowing. Someone, or something, had pressed it. She reset the system and walked back to the nurse's station. 10 minutes later, the chime sounded again. Room 214. This time, she didn't go alone. She brought another nurse. They opened the room together. The call button light was on again. But something else had changed. The bed curtain, which had been tied to the side earlier, was now partially closed, as if someone had been sitting there. After that night, maintenance disconnected the call system in that wing completely. But the nurse said she still avoided that hallway whenever possible. Working the night shift can be peaceful. But when you're alone in a quiet building, every sound feels louder. Every shadow feels deeper. And sometimes, things happen that no one can explain. Maybe it's just old buildings settling. Maybe it's faulty wiring. Or maybe the night holds things we don't fully understand. Either way, the people who work after midnight often have stories like these. And if you've ever worked the night shift yourself, You might have one too. So now I'm curious. Have you ever experienced something strange while working late at night? Let me know your story in the comments. And if you enjoy real mysterious stories like these, make sure to subscribe. Because the next story might be even stranger than this one.